Welcome, everyone, to the 904 Prowl, the home of the Jags on the United Football Media Network. Like, subscribe, comment, give me some feedback. I really enjoy doing the show. It's all about the Jags. This is special teams. I can feel it in week 2 now. Talking about week 2, who's excited for the Kansas City Chiefs to come to the bank? Who's excited? I am. I'm really excited for this. This is the best team. This is the standard in the league. And if we're going to see the Jaguars take that next step, we really have to they have to stand out against these Kansas City Chiefs. It's as simple as that. Patty Mahomes, best quarterback in the game, right? Chris Jones, probably one of the best nose tackles, defensive tackles in the game, right? Travis Kelce, best tight end in the game. Andy Reid, probably one of the best coaches. So this definitely is one of those teams that sets the tone for your season. I know it's only week 2, but like I said on the previous episode, if the Jags go 2-0 against the Chiefs and the Chiefs fall to 0-2, that means the last 15 games, they got 2 games to play with. If not 3, right? Because if they end up with the same record, then they get the tiebreaker if it comes down to them and the Chiefs. So this is a huge one. Peterson's never beat Andy Reid, which is a big, tall task because Andy Reid's one of the greatest coaches of all time. But it's time to teal the bank. Fill it up with teal. Wear your teal all day Sunday. Walk around town, even if you're not going to the game. Support. Make Jayville the 904 teal. It's as simple as that. This is a big game for Trevor Lawrence as well. He's going against the best quarterback in the game of this, probably of his generation. It's gonna be tough to catch up to Pat Mahomes if you're Trevor Lawrence. We all know this. Simple as that. But can he claim that he's one of the top quarterbacks? Can Trevor Lawrence claim that after this Sunday? I don't see why not, honestly. But it definitely sets the tone for this whole season. I'm not saying the season's over if they lose. I'm not saying that they can't win the AFC if they lose. But this sets a tone because if they win, guess what? They're on top of the world. You really start to believe that they are capable of doing more than possibly any Jaguar team in franchise history. I said on episode 1 at the beginning of the season that this team probably has the highest expectations for any one single team in the history of the Jags. And this game week 2 is going to set that tone. It's as simple as that. You might not like to hear that. It might seem like, oh my goodness, how did we get here? Like, where's this pressure come from? But they proved in the second half of the season that they can compete with anyone in the league. They can beat anyone, a lot of comebacks. You saw it last week. The Cardiac Cats were back. But they have to be able to beat the Chiefs to take the next step. This whole schedule, being on a first-place schedule, and I've talked about it every single episode, is definitely going to set – you're going to see where they're at. You're going to see if they're one of those teams that really was up and down. I remember I believe it was the Bears in like the mid-2000s. They used to get a first-place schedule. They'd go to the bottom. They go to the bottom. They get a fourth-place schedule. Their records again. So they just go up and down all year. I mean, all decade or era or whatever you want to call it. And the Jags are at that point. Are they going to be the up and down team? Or are they going to be a team that's just ascending to the top? I tend to think that they're just going to be ascending to the top. Next on the rundown is what to watch for. This is a big game. This is a big game. So we got a couple things. No turnovers. I know that sounds stupid. That sounds so obvious. It sounds so basic. But you can't beat the Chiefs if you turn over the ball. If you give Pat Mahomes more shorter field, because typically you turn over the ball at the 50, at the 40, instead of punting and getting them inside the 10. So you normally turn over the ball there. Pat Mahomes short field, be able to quick strike. That's not what you want to do to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. Number 2 to watch for, run the ball early. I really believe that they need to set the tone, maybe up-pace offense, but run the ball early and go right down the middle. I understand that the interior line with Schreff and Barch coming back from injury, and Fortner also not really being a standout as of yet. I understand that that's a scary proposition to run it right down to the strength of the Kansas City Chiefs defense. But you got to set the pace, and you got to see what Chris Jones really has done. Because he didn't play all of preseason, right? He didn't do any of the camps. He hasn't been part of any activity since the Super Bowl. Since confetti was falling on his face, Chris Jones really hasn't done much with football. He says he's in shape, and I believe him. Like, there's no reason not to believe him. But you can't duplicate in-game action. So I would set the pace and no huddle. Make sure he can't get off the field. He can't pace himself. And I would run the ball right at him, tire him out. Even if it's not 100% effective as the Jags usually as they would want. You've got to set the tone that they're not here to mess around, and you got to test Chris Jones. Kelce coverage. If Kelce plays on Sunday, the coverage of Travis Kelce is the most important part of the entire defensive plan. Absolutely. Without a doubt. The most important part of the defensive plan. Who's going to cover him? Kelce's one of those unique unicorns. Big guy linebacker, struggles to keep up with the speed. A D-back, a defensive back, struggles to match his size. You got to hit him off the line of scrimmage. Set the tone. Huh? We're setting tones again. Early. See what Kelce really can do. You got to test these guys. You got to push them. They're obviously very good. They are in the AFC Championship game every year. Right now, they are the standard, like I said earlier. And Mike Caldwell's game plan against Travis Kelce is going to be essential for success on Sunday, without a doubt. And then offensive line protection. If you look at Trevor Lawrence's stats, and I know this sounds very elementary, but if you look at Trevor, I'm thinking about Kelce, Trevor's stats, you could tell that he's a lot better when the line is protecting. His numbers, his turnovers are down. And I know that is really elementary. But if you look into the analytics, when he does not have a pressure rate above 35 and it's lower, I mean, they're not getting to him. He is one of the better quarterbacks in the league if they're protecting him at an average to above average clip. When it's below average, his numbers are closer to Baker Mayfield than Pat Mahomes. We all know what guy we want, right? Baker replaced Tom Brady. That sounds nice and fancy, but honestly, they were desperate. They got a quarterback, and he played well this week, whatever. But we rather have Trevor be like Patty Mahomes rather than Baker Mayfield. So they've got to protect. The offensive line, obviously, we talked about it 2 seconds ago. Schreff, he was banged up. They say he's good to go. Anton Harrison is a rookie. He's got to be able to be successful. Walker Little. The offensive line can't be at the bottom of the PFF grades after this week, and the Jaguars win. There's no way. These aren't the Indianapolis Colts. So what to watch for? Offensive line protection, Kelsey coverage. How is Caldwell going to defend Travis Kelsey? No turnovers. You cannot turn the ball over and run the ball early. Test Chris Jones. See what's going on. Next one, key matchups. Chris Jones versus Schreff, Barch, Fortner, whoever he lines up against ahead of the offensive line. Obviously, is banged up a little bit. It's not the greatest strength of the team. Chris Jones comes back. This is a big matchup. This will set the pace really with how each team's going to perform on offense or in that case the Chiefs defense. I tend to think that the Chris Jones is going to be ready to play. He's going to be ready to play. So that offensive line, if it has to go to Shatley, then it has to go to Shatley. It's simple as that. If we Anton Harrison's got to be able to hold his own on the outside. Same thing with Walker Little, because that interior line is going to have a tough battle. A tough battle. The defense ends don't really scare me, but Spags is going to send a bunch of blitzes, and they'll be able to get there. Spags has always been a big game defensive coordinator, go through his entire life. Might not be a head coach ever again, but defensive coordinator, big game defensive coordinator. Spags may be the best in the league. So I look forward to seeing how the interior offensive line goes against the interior defensive line of the Chiefs. Matchup number 2, Josh Allen versus Mahomes. Josh Allen, as I stated in the previous episode, they're 5-1, the Jaguars, when Josh Allen gets multiple sacks. They win when he gets to the quarterback. He's the best pass rusher on the team. He might not be the most talented. Trayvon Walker might be more talented, but Josh Allen's the most consistent and most solid pass rusher for the Jaguars. I gotta think that he's got to get to the quarterback twice. He's got to make Mahomes. Mahomes is tougher. I know Anthony Richardson's probably more athletic, but Pat Mahomes has a pocket presence that Anthony Richardson, hopefully for the Colts' sake, will eventually learn. Josh Allen's got to get to the quarterback. Simple as that. He's got to get to the quarterback. He's got to make Mahomes feel uncomfortable, make him run around, and then let him throw the ball to Tony. And maybe Tony drops the ball a couple times, or the receivers don't get open. Someone's got to be in the face of Mahomes and make Mahomes just feel uncomfortable just a little bit. I know he's a tough guy to sack. I get that. And I wish they came up with a stat of uncomfortable rankings for defensive ends. And there might be a stat out there, and I just haven't found it yet. But I really feel that if you make Mahomes uncomfortable and his wide receivers aren't performing, a la Aiden Hutchinson last week, right? Mahomes starts to get frustrated and you start to see a little motion. Usually he's calm, cool, collective, laid back, even keeled. But if you can get that with decent coverage, you can get into his head a little bit. And it'll compound itself a little bit over the previous week, right? They struggled with that with the Lions, drops, protection. He gets a little frustrated. And the offense doesn't roll. And then the wide receivers like, oh, I'm playing with Mahomes. I got to step my game up. He's getting stressed out. Mr. Cool's getting stressed out, and Tony drops the ball, and it's pick six and all that great stuff that happened. I think Josh Allen's one of the key players of this game for the Jaguars' success. Next one, prediction. Trevor has less interceptions than Mahomes. I think Mahomes has 2. Trevor has 1 or 0. I don't believe that the Chiefs' defense, Trent McDuffie is great at creating turnovers, but I think Trevor Trevor will get lucky probably a little bit, but I think he'll also be able to maneuver that pass rush for the most part. It's going to be tougher, I think, at the beginning when Chris Jones is fresh, and that will be the key moment. But as the game goes on, it's only natural. Chris Jones can't be an every down defensive lineman for the Chiefs this week. So if Chris Jones is going to play, you want to play him in that first game when he hasn't done any training except on his own for a long time. So it's definitely one of the things to look forward to. And if Trevor controls the ball, and like I said, what to watch for, no turnovers for the Jags. The Jags should be set up if Trevor controls the ball and has very little turnovers. No stupid turnovers. No handing the ball to the defensive tackle for off another fumble. No double fumbles, right? No double fumbles this week. Let's go. Prediction 2. Travis Etienne has over 100 yards rushing. I truly believe that this team is going to run the ball right at Chris Jones, try to tire him out early. Because Coburn and Wharton are not Chris Jones, his backups. So they're going to try to run it and run it right up the gut. Goes back to the offensive line. Of course, the Jaguars' weakness is where they need to run the ball to set this kind of tone pace. So I think ETN has over 100 yards. I think they don't use Bigsby enough or often. I wouldn't say enough. They probably do. But I think ETN has one of those games. He also had 5 catches last week. He's going to get involved in the passing game. I think ETN's on, as long as he can stay healthy, I think he's on the rise on running backs top 10 list, which of course means in the NFL right now that you're not going to get a big payday. You're basically going to be playing for pennies after soon enough. Score: Jags 34, Chiefs 31. I think it's a field goal game. I'm not saying a field goal to win the game in the fourth quarter. I think it just ends up that way. The Jags are gonna the banks are gonna be full. The banks are gonna be rocking, and the Jags are gonna be ready to play. My player of the game is gonna be Travis Etienne. I think like I said, I think he has over 100 yards. I think the Chiefs defense focuses on trying to contain the passing game, and Etienne's able to run at Chris Jones a little bit on the inside, and then be able to bounce on the outside. I don't believe Kelsey plays a full game. I think Kelsey is more of a trying to trick the Jags, and he'll be out there for a little bit, but I think it'll be evident. Those bone bruises aren't anything to laugh at. But yeah, ETN's my player of the game, over 100 yards, probably a score if he gets over 100 yards, but it's not even the scoring that obviously scoring affects the outcome the most. But I think him moving the chains and making Chris Jones work and relieving some of the pressure from Trevor, I think Travis Etienne has a great game Sunday. Absolutely great game. Like, comment, subscribe. Leave your prediction below. If you made it this far, subscribe, hit the bell, get the notifications so you know every time that a 904 Prowl comes out. I know this is only episode 3. Trying to get this cooking. I got 2 episodes this week, maybe next week 3, but guaranteed 2, right? Not going backwards. I will not go backwards. But this is 904 Prowl. Like, subscribe, comment. Thank you for watching on the United Football Media Network. Ice time.